So these are the products that you'll need for this DIY. I have a wine tumbler, a mason jar, my measuring cup, a microwavable soy candle wax, and then I have these fragrance oils that I got off of Amazon, as well as a candle wick and hot glue. So for the first part, just to get the design you want, I'm using the Avery labels. These are the clear labels, guys, but I kind of would have preferred the white ones, but I'm okay with the clear ones. So when you go onto their website, they have a bunch of templates for you so that when you're creating your design, you can make sure that it prints in the right space. You could either just search and scroll for yours, or if you like, you can also just look at the number on the front and type that in, and it'll bring you directly to the exact type of paper that you have. After you have found the paper, you can just hit select and it'll bring you to design section. There's a ton of designs on here. I actually ended up printing 2. I'll end up showing you one that I printed, and then I decided, this is what I decided with at first, but then I really just like the black not to be there. So I reprinted it, and you'll see that at the end, which is the one that's in the thumbnail. But after that, really all you have to do is just print PDF and connect it to your printer. I did this from my phone, and it prints, like I said, exactly where it needs to land on the paper so that the label doesn't really get messed up or the design isn't off of the label. Moving on, so here is the mason jar, and what I'm going to be doing is hot gluing the wick into the center of the jar. It's okay that if you buy a wick that's too long, it's actually a lot better than having one that's too short, because if it's too short, it kind of gets a little hard to work with. So here's the wick, and I'm literally just going to hot glue it to the center, and then I'll show you in the next step why it's important to have probably a longer wick instead of a shorter one. So here come the fragrance oils, and I'm using Rain, Ocean Breeze, and Fresh Cut Grass. And I think I did about 100. You want to be careful that you test these scents before mixing them together. Some are stronger than others. So I definitely did the majority of this Rain, then Ocean Breeze, and a tiny bit of Fresh Cut Grass, because if I put any more of that at the end, it would probably overpower the other 2 scents. It's definitely one of those like trial and error. I've made a few candles and some scents end up being really nasty, but I would recommend just kind of smelling it, getting a feel when you remove the cap, how strong it is, and that kind of gave me a gauge as to how much I need to put. But I would say overall, I have about 100 drops of fragrance oil in this cup. Again, I am using microwavable candle wax. I recommend this over anything else because I'm telling you, the other process takes very long. This also will take a little bit longer to kind of mold, but I'd rather let that sit than stir the paraffin wax over the stove for like 20 minutes. So definitely use the microwavable one and just follow the instructions that you're given. So once the wax is completely melted, I let it sit for about a minute so that it can cool. You don't want it to be too hot because it could break the glass when you are pouring it into the mason jar. So like I said, this is when having the longer wick comes in handy because you can wrap it around the pencil and you don't have to hold the wick while the wax kind of cools and hardens. Again, this wax takes a little bit longer to harden. So if you didn't have a longer wick, you would have to like find a creative way to make sure that that wick stays in the center and isn't like leaning over to the side. So I'm gonna go ahead, excuse my shoulder. Hello, shoulder. I'm gonna go ahead and pour the hot wax into the jar. I had to take the pencil away for a second. And then I will add the fragrance oils afterwards, and then I'll retie the pencil to the wick to make sure that it stands up straight. Now the wax hardened probably within about 2 hours, but I left it overnight just because I was tired, and to be honest, it did sink a little bit here. I'm not sure why. It could have been the temperature that it was cooling, the room temperature that it was cooling in, but it's all good for me. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and cut that wick, and I am gonna save the other side of it because maybe I could use it for something. And that's pretty much the end of this DIY, guys. As you can see, that's the new design For the candle, I like that better. It's simple. That is my mom's name, and the 2 quotes that I have underneath it, or the 2 little sayings, is what her name means. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop the mason jar in there, and then there you have it. I have my candle holder that's custom, and I have my DIY candle. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you like what you see here on my channel, be sure to subscribe and stick around for the next one. Bye!